Chapter 24. Rescue from the Rope. The sheriff had been quick to act. As soon as he reached home, he proclaimed that the price on Robin Hood's head was doubled. He was still dripping with paste, and he thought that no price would be too high to pay for vengeance on the gay outlaw of Sherwood Forest. At the news, a band of men armed themselves and set out for the forest, where they knew the outlaws lived. They needed money, and they could think of no better way of getting a large sum than to bring back Robin Hood. Robin was away from the band the morning the attack was planned. He had gone visiting with Marion, and had told his men that he would not be back until nightfall. "There's a great crowd of men coming towards us," exclaimed Will Scarlet, peering through the trees. "It looks like trouble ahead." The outlaws made ready to face the attack. So many of their members were out on hunting expeditions that there was not enough left in the camp to defend it properly. Those that were there put up a brave show. The band of men who were advancing knew that they would be no match for the outlaws if they fought man to man. Their only chance was to wound some of the men from a distance, and that is what they did. They kept as far away from Robin's men as they could, and shot arrows towards the figures in Lincoln Green. 3 of the outlaws fell. They were Will the wrestler and his 2 brothers, Lester and Harry. This was enough for the band of men. They captured the 3 men and made their way back through the forest as quickly as they could. Though there were many more of them than there were outlaws in the camp, they did not fancy staying to fight it out, for they feared the skill of the men in green. "Even if we haven't got Robin Hood," said the leader of the men, "at least we should get some reward for these 3 specimens." The men laughed. They knew how anxious the sheriff was to recover his good name after the fiasco of Robin's imprisonment. He would welcome the capture of these 3 outlaws. When the sheriff saw 3 of Robin's men, he was delighted. "They shall be hanged tomorrow," he announced. "A public hanging will serve as a warning to Robin Hood that I mean business this time." Robin was upset when he heard about the capture of the 3 brothers. He had only been back at the camp for a short time when an old lady came through the forest and asked to see him. She was a poor widow, the mother of the 3 brothers who had been captured. "Good Robin Hood," she began, "my 3 sons have this day been captured and are to hang tomorrow. I beg you to save them for me. They are all I have in this world. Though they were in your band, they often visited me, and always saw that I had enough to live on." Robin assured the widow that he would do all he could to rescue the 3 brothers. Early the next day he set out along the road to Nottingham. He saw the figure of a farmer in front of him, and quickly caught up with the old man. "Where are you going, honest farmer?" asked Robin. "To Nottingham," replied the farmer. 3 brave men are to hang today. They shall not die until I have prayed with them." Robin had a sudden inspiration. He begged the farmer to exchange clothes with him so that he could go to the hanging. The farmer would not hear of such a scheme as Robin outlined, but the jingle of money seemed to work a quick change in him. In less than an hour Robin was passing through the city gate of Nottingham in the guise of a farmer. He made his way straight to the scaffold. The three brothers were standing there bound and made ready for the hanging. "Good sheriff," cried the palmer, "is it surely right that these three varlets should be given the opportunity of repenting before they die?" "They'll have plenty of time for that," returned the sheriff. "I can get nobody to hang them." "Then give me permission to carry out the execution," pleaded the palmer. "Justice must be done." There was relief on the sheriff's face when he heard this. The crowd jeered the palmer as he stepped on the platform, but the sheriff was pleased that he need no longer fear ridicule for failing at the last moment to carry out his sentence. The palmer was speaking now to the three condemned men. Little did the sheriff know what he was saying. "It is your leader," whispered Robin. "Have no fear, I'll loosen your bonds, and then when I give the word we must fight our way out of here." Their bonds were at last loosened, but the men stood still, pretending that they were still tied. Suddenly Robin threw off his palmer's robes and stood revealed in Lincoln green. He put his horn to his lips and blew 3 sharp blasts. In a few moments men began to pour through the distant trees towards the execution place. The outlaws had again answered the call of their beloved leader. "Run for it!" cried Robin to the 3 brothers. "Fight for your lives!" The 3 men, with Robin at their head, battled their way out of the crowd with their fists. The sheriff's men gathered quickly together and awaited orders, but they had lost too much time, for Robin and the 3 brothers were running towards their friends in Lincoln green, who were now near the scene. Desperately the sheriff lined up his men. "Your weapons!" he cried. "Where are your weapons?" "We laid them down in a heap on the ground just before the execution was due to take place," said one man. "Then get them, varlets, get them!" stormed the sheriff. The men broke ranks and ran to retrieve their spears and swords. They began to line up again. Escape was complete by the time the sheriff and his men were completely mustered. Robin's men far outnumbered the few soldiers that had gathered to watch the execution, and the sheriff could do nothing but look on helplessly at the distant figures who were vanishing quickly in the direction of far-away Sherwood Forest. End of chapter 24.